This week, I want to share with you a concept I call the circle of influence and the circle of control, and how you can truly have power over your life to be a more effective person in this world. All of the things in this world can be broken up into three realms: circle of control, the circle of influence, and finally, the circle of non-influence. These are things in the outside world that you just don't have any control over. For instance, you most likely won't be able to change the government in Tanzania or in China. Mother Nature is another example of things that would fall into this outer realm of the circle. Circle of influence. In the middle realm, there are things in the outside world that you can have some effect over. For instance, your kids' actions, especially when they're younger. Of course, the older they get, the less influence you have on them. Your spouse's actions. You can't control them, but you can probably have influence over them to do certain things or take certain actions. Your staff or coworkers. As a boss, you definitely would have influence over your staff, but keep in mind that this is not control, because they do have the choice to leave or quit, so that you can't apply control over them if push comes to shove. So for the things in the circle of influence, it's always better to inspire and enroll people to do things than to force or strong arm them into it. The latter comes from a place of force and fear, which only lasts as long as you are applying that force over them. And the former is a desire from within themselves to do things. This is a much more sustainable way to influence someone. Circle of control. Finally, in the innermost realm of the circle are things that you truly have control over. These are things that come from within you, like your beliefs, which also cover your thoughts, your behavior, which includes your actions, and finally, your attitude, which include things like your perspective and emotions or feelings. Basically, anything that is generated from within you is something that you can have control over. That sounds simple, right? Well, then why does it feel like sometimes there are things inside of us that doesn't seem like it's our choice? Like when someone cuts us off in traffic and we feel a sudden rage come over us. What is that about? The anger definitely feels automatic, doesn't it? With enough understanding of your emotions and conscious practice, you can actually choose a different feeling and reaction no matter what the situation is. There will be things outside of you that will happen and they will act as a stimulus for a reaction from you. But here's the biggest lesson I can give you. You can't change the stimulus from the outside world, but you can choose a different internal response to that stimulus. So in the example of someone cutting you off, yes, your first reaction might be rage. And that is due to the meaning or the story that you put behind the situation of being cut off. You could make it mean that the other driver put your life in danger. Or you can make it mean that they disrespected you. It could be a whole multitude of things that you can come up with. We are very good at making up a story that is not based on reality. So here's the news. If you can apply meaning which generates anger inside of you, then you can easily apply a different meaning which would generate a different response, right? Remember, emotions, beliefs, attitude are things that are in the circle of control. What if you chose instead to think that the person is in a rush to get back home to his pregnant wife who's about to give birth? Or that he really has to find a washroom because his bladder just can't hold it any longer? In these situations, what emotion would you bring forth and what different response would you generate to the same outside world stimulus? So if you can understand that the outside world will do what it does, then you can focus your energy on changing the things that you have control over, like the things inside the center of the circle, things that you actually have control over, instead of wasting time and energy trying to change things that are in the outer realm of the circle, things that you don't have any control over. This would mean that you'll be much more effective with your time and energy. And you know what? The more you work on the circle of control for yourself, the more your inner circle expands and the more things you have influence over. A coach of mine, Jay Fazette, has a concept which is very fitting to what I'm talking about. He teaches that your life happens from you and not to you. Many people live their life thinking that it happens to them. And yes, that is one perspective to take. But what if you see it the other way around? What if you can see that your life happens from you instead? When you recognize that your life doesn't happen to you and you have the ability to choose a different response to that outside stimulus, then you can choose a different state of being to better influence the outside world. Think about this and practice it so that you can become a more effective person in this world. I'm Eric Lee, and I can turbocharge your success.